It is with so much joy in my heart that I welcome you again to this channel, your favorite channel on marriage matters, marriage that works, where we have the mandate to help put your marriage in the right perspective, God's perspective, by teaching and encouraging various family values, which we believe will help transform it from the necessary evil you probably have considered it to be now to what God intends for you. I'd like to say thank you to my returning viewers for your love always. God bless you loads. If you're a first timer here, I say thank you to you too, and I implore you to please subscribe, like the video, drop a comment, and share to your friends and loved ones. Let's together reach the world with this heaven's mandate. In the last episode, I began a series on communication and addressed wives on the subject how to talk so that your husband will hear. I urge you to watch that video if you have not done so. In this episode, like I promised in the last, I have returned to talk to our dear husbands on what I call want a better marriage husband? Listen to your wife. If your wife tells you that there is a problem in your marriage, then you can bet that there probably is, and you would do well to pay attention to her in order to preserve that marriage. I know very well it can be difficult to accept your wife's direct criticisms and or blunt remarks. I understand very well your reasons for not wanting to listen to your wife over the years. Reasons like she raises her voice while talking to you, her presentation is not always right, she nags, and so on. I know all that because I hear them from my own husbands too. But I'd like you to know something about the female species, that even the quietest woman gets highly emotional and throws her weight behind a subject that is dear to her heart. Subjects like her marriage. And when she does that, she unconsciously goes aggressive and loud. Am I in any way encouraging my gender to continue to raise their voices when speaking with their husbands? Of course not. If you have watched my last video, how to talk so that your husband will hear, you will know that I actually encouraged every woman to always receive grace, to speak gently to their husbands. So in essence, what I am trying to say to you, dear husband, is to at least sometimes learn to look beyond the how of her presentation to the what of her message. Understand that she is only compensating her weakness with that noise she's making at that point. You can do well to calm her down and tell her to gently say what she has to say. I'll tell you a few more reasons why you need to listen to your wife if you desire to enjoy your marriage. 1. World's famous psychologist and marriage researcher John Gottman, with his group of researchers, monitored about 130 newlywed couples for 6 years to determine which marriages were successful and why. They found out that every successful, long-standing unions shared one thing in common. The husband was prepared to accept his wife's influence. Contrarily, when the husbands ignored or dismissed their wife's complaints, the marriage was nearly certain to end in divorce. In fact, more than 80% of those marriages ended in divorce. That is sure a startling statistic that deserves attention, right? So if your wife tells you that there is a problem in your marriage, you can bet there probably is. And you would do well to pay attention for the sake of that marriage. Number 2, Women typically have a greater understanding of the intricacies of relationships than their male counterparts. A woman is more skillful at decoding hidden messages. She is able to quickly perceive potential threats to the relationship. Believe it or not, she has an inbuilt marriage manual. She naturally understands the needs of the partnership, and she frequently is able to provide helpful suggestions on how to make things right. All she requires is a brave husband who would ask her to give to him access to the manual. So, dear husband who desires a better marriage, I urge you to do the following. 1. From time to time, inquire about your wife's opinion on the state of your marriage. The fact that you are the head of that family does not in any way mean that you do not need the counsel of your wife. You need to begin to listen to your spouse and stop dismissing her opinions and advice. You must begin to understand and value her viewpoints and be receptive to her suggestions, her desires, and even her criticisms instead of reacting angrily. More fruitful and loving conversations can start with just listening and respecting her viewpoints. It suggests to her that you regard her opinions, that you respect her thinking, and that you consider what your wife wants to be extremely essential. And in turn, she will believe that you respect her and think highly of her views. Number 2, if you really desire a better marriage, husband, you need to put aside your pride. You need to brush off the ego. That is the only thing that makes you resist your wife's influence. It is your insecurity that makes you afraid that you are losing control or that you are failing when you listen to your wife. Whereas the reverse is actually what happens. You are better able to lead your wife. You stand a better chance of winning the right to lead your wife when you pay attention to her and accept her influence. Asking for and allowing her input does not mean that you are giving up control. Keep in mind also that a wise leader is aware of and always taps into the skills and abilities of his team members. So be a wise leader. I'll tell you the number 3 thing you need to do, and that is to quit the assumptions. You have been in the habit of drawing conclusions for her long enough, assuming that you know what she's about to say. Going forward, try to resist the temptation to complete her statements for her, to put words in her mouth, or to conclude her statements for her each time she tries to have a conversation with you. Another thing I know that you men do, which is very annoying, is implying some meanings to what your wife says, which most times are very incorrect. This is the highest level of distrust any man can exercise towards his wife. Learn to trust your wife's words. If she says that this is what I am saying or this is what I am implying, give her the benefit of doubt. Believe her and stop being overly sensitive and or critical. If you are not sure about what she is saying, ask questions, seek clarifications. That is much better than assumption. Number 4, be patient with her. Don't rush her. A woman naturally uses many words to express herself. I know I do that a lot. Most women do. It's not our fault. It's just natural. Research has shown that a woman speaks about 20,000 words per day. That's some 13,000 more than the average man. Even if your wife talks so much that you consider her a nuisance to your quiet moments at home, you still have to listen to her as a show of love, because if you don't, you are guilty of lack of love and care. And if you cut her short, I'm afraid you may be calling for a civil war. So learn to be patient with your wife whenever she desires to speak with you. If it is not a good time for you to have a conversation with her, then tell her lovingly. Let her know when you can listen to her, and be sure to keep to that promise. The importance of effective communication in marriage cannot be overemphasized, and it involves both parties playing their part very well. The sender, in this context the wife, passing the message across effectively by communicating her complaints in a polite and soothing manner, and the husband, on the other hand, being willing to listen to her and taking her suggestions into consideration instead of ignoring her. When both parties put these into practice, then a happier marriage becomes easier to build than you ever thought. Just as it is crucial for the wife to understand how to speak in a way that increases her chances of being heard, understood, and accepted while discussing a delicate subject, so also it is for the husband to learn to listen to his wife and to accept her influence. Remember, if your wife tells you that there is a problem in your marriage, then there most likely is, and you will do well to pay attention to her for the sake of that marriage. I'll see you again in my next episode with another fantastic topic. Till then, peace be upon your home.